And now for your official director's welcome to Mountaineer Boys State. The Boys State director, my good friend, Mr. Jim Davis.
Well, now that you have proven you are and will be the leaders in your schools, I have 3 words I'd like for you to remember and think about. The first one is grateful. You want to be grateful for who you are and what you have accomplished and will accomplish. Also, be grateful for the teachers that have helped you prepare your future and for your college or for whatever plans you have. But last but not least, be grateful for your parents or guardians, or they are and always will be the ones to help mold you into the young men you are today and tomorrow. Second word is friends. If you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If you know it doesn't sound right and you know it isn't right, most likely it is not. So speak up and be the one that says, let's not do that. The third word is work. It's true. Don't be afraid to work, because every good thing comes with the work you put into it. We at the staff want to make this a week that will change your lifetime. There's 3 things I want you to think about while you're here this week. How will I measure success? What is my personal calling? And who am I? Good luck this week, and thank you all for taking the time of your week for being here. Thank you.
And now we will start our Americanism ceremony. And to kick that off for us is Mr. Jacob McCarty and the Americanism team.
Here at the American Legion Mountaineer Boys State, you will say the Pledge of Allegiance numerous of times before you leave. Have you ever stopped and thought about what you're really pledging? This is our pledge to our country. You hear it a lot, just 31 words. What does it mean? Please listen to the following words and think of them the next time you recite our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
I promise to be true.
to the flag
The sign of our country.
of the United States of America
Each state that has joined to make our country.
and to the republic
In a republic is a country where the people choose others to make laws for them. The government is for the people.
for which it stands,
The flag leads the country.
one nation,
A single country.
under God,
The people believe in a supreme being.
indivisible,
The country cannot be split into parts.
with liberty and justice
With freedom and fairness.
for all.
Each person in the country, you and me.
The pledge says you're promising to be true to the USA. The Pledge of Allegiance is more than 31 words put together in order. It is something that you're promising to uphold. It's something that you freely accept. It's something that through history, Americans have held dear to their hearts. It's something Americans have died for. It's something that you should recite with the utmost pride and respect. You're pledging to yourself as an American. Please think of these things when reciting our Pledge of Allegiance. We will now have a special ceremony to honor those servicemen and women who are sometimes forgotten. If you notice, there is one flag off by itself alone. That flag is the Missing in Action Prisoners of War flag. This ceremony is for our nation's MIA and POW veterans. I call your attention to the small table, which occupies a place of dignity and honor. It will be set for one, symbolizing the fact that members of our armed forces are missing from our ranks. They are referred to as POWs and MIAs. Remember, we call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families, so we join together to pay humble tribute to them and to bear witness to their continued absence. Let us remember. The table is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against their oppressors. Let us remember. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. Let us remember. The single red rose in the vase reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith awaiting their return. Let us remember. The red ribbon, tied so prominently around the vase, is reminiscent of the red ribbon worn on the lapel and breast of many bearing witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our missing. Let us remember. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Let us remember. The salt on the plate is symbolic of the tears shed by those who wait. Let us remember. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us. The chair is empty. They are not here. Let us remember. The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope, which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors to open arms of a grateful nation. Let us remember. The American flag, the Armed Forces flags, and the MIA POW flag reminds us that many of them may never return and have paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure our freedom. Let us remember. The Bible reminds us to pray to the Supreme Commander that all of our comrades will soon be back within our ranks. Let us remember and never forget their sacrifice. May God forever watch over them and protect them and their families. And salute. 2. Please rise for the playing of taps as a tribute to all of our departed comrades who have joined the post everlasting throughout our nation's history and remain standing for a prayer to our veterans. Uncover. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the brave men and women who have sacrificed through the years defending our nation. We ask that you bless all veterans, past, present, and future. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Please be seated. I ask, if you see a veteran, tell him or her thank you for your service. Also remember those who cannot be with us today because they're missing, prisoners, hostages, or gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, sir. That song that you just heard has been around for a long time, but it wasn't always used for what we use it for today. That song was originally gotten from the French. It has about 24 notes, and it was originally called Tattoo. It was a bugle call used by the French to show that there should be lights out and everyone should return to their barracks. Well, there was a Union general that decided he didn't care too much for the way that song was. So he summoned his bugler to tweak the song a little bit. So they changed a few notes, did a few things with it, and it came to what we know today as taps. Well, back in those days, when you communicated with another unit, it was by a bugle call. So they would hear things, and other units would copy it, and sometimes it would get changed, and all these different things. The first time that that song you just heard was used for a military funeral was at a cannoneer death in the field. The unit used the song so as not to give away their position by firing a volley of 3. 10 months after it was adopted as our funeral song, it was played at General Stonewall Jackson's funeral. That song, Taps, is now used to signify lights out, the end of the duty day, and to bury our honored dead. That's what you just heard. Now, I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. In a town not far from here, in Harrison Landing, Virginia, there was a Civil War battle going on. Union was on one side, Confederate on the other side. It was getting close to dark. A Union captain heard a moaning on the battlefield. He decided he would go out to check and help the man. Now, he didn't know if he was Union or Confederate. So he went out and he drugged the man back to his lines. Well, when he got back, he realized it was a Confederate soldier. Well, he got a lantern. He went over, looked, and he went into shock. He went into shock because this was his own son that was before him. You see, his son had moved to the South to study music. He didn't bother to tell his dad that he joined the Army. Well, distraught, the captain went to his superiors and asked, "Can I have musicians play a funeral dirge for my son?" Well, they refused. "We can't do that. He's the enemy. We certainly can't do that." So they did some talking and reasoning, and because it was his son, they said, "Okay, we'll give you one musician." He chose the bugler. And those 24 notes that you just heard from that day forward have always been used for our funeral song, to bury our honored dead. That's the story of taps. Now, while you're here at Mountaineer Boys State, you're going to hear taps every day, sometimes twice a day. When you hear it at night, it means lights out. When we do it at a ceremony, it's to honor our fallen. So that's what that song means. You're to remain silent, stand till the song is over. That's just a little bit about taps. Now, you know this program is put on by the American Legion. The American Legion was founded in 1919, at the end of the war to end all wars. The idea was thought of in France by a group of veterans that wanted to make sure that their families were taken care of when they came back home. Well, in 1930, Adolf Hitler started throwing some weight around in the state of New Jersey, making pioneer camps. Well, the Legion recognized this and said, "We can't have this." So, in 1935, in Illinois, the first boys' state took place in a cattle barn on their state fairgrounds. Now, West Virginia was so very impressed with this program that they said, "Hey, we want to get in on this." So, West Virginia has the second charter in the nation for Boys State. West Virginia not only has the second charter, they have the only Boys State that is at the original location that it started. Now, the American Legion is founded on 4 pillars. You see them up here. These 4 pillars are what our organization started with and lives by today. The first pillar is for our veterans. The second pillar is for our national defense. The third is for Americanism. And the fourth is for our children and youth. That's what our organization is founded on. Now, there are 4 separate groups in our organization that join together to become one. And we want to talk a little bit about each one of those right now. Now, you already told you the American Legion was founded in 1919 and all the things that went along with it. Built on the 4 pillars that you see before us. We have our own emblem. Here stands an emblem of the American Legion. It is a badge of distinction, honor, and service. It stands for God and country and the right and the highest rights of man. The sun in the middle of our emblem is the background. The Legion principles will dispel the darkness and violence and evil. The wreath forms the center in loving memory of our brave comrades who have given their lives in service of the United States that liberty might endure. The star, the victory symbol of World War I, the symbol of honor, glory, constance. The letters US leave no doubt the highest star in the Legion's emblem. The outer ring, the large two outer rings, stand for rehabilitation of our sick and disabled comrades. The smaller inside ring denotes welfare of America's children. The inner rings, the smaller of the two rings, set on an open star, represent service of our community, state, and nation. The larger outer ring pledges loyalty to Americanism. The words American Legion tie the whole emblem together, standing for truth, remembrance, constance, honor, service, Veterans Affairs, children and youth, loyalty, and Americanism. That is your American Legion emblem. And of that emblem, this program covers all of them. Now we're going to talk about our other emblems.
The American Legion Auxiliary was founded in 1919. This volunteer organization works side by side with the American Legion to assist veterans, communities, youth, and Americanism. There stands an emblem that is distinctive and ready to serve. Set against a gold background symbolic of rays of the sun and standing for the principles of justice, freedom, democracy, and loyalty, dispelling the darkness of violence, strife, and evil. The field of white exemplifies the hope of freedom. Unity and loyalty are represented by the unbroken circle in blue and gold. On a blue circle in letters of gold stands the name of the organization, American Legion Auxiliary, a proud name made significant by service to God and country in war and in peace. The words emphasize Americanism and service. The Star of Blue is the emblem of service in war. It is no less the emblem of service in the time of peace. The Sons of the American Legion was founded in 1932. It exists to honor the service of legionnaires and sacrifice of legionnaires. A Sons of the American Legion member must be a direct descendant of a war veteran eligible for the American Legion. There stands an emblem of honor, distinction, and heritage. The design of our emblem was taken from the emblem of our parent organization, but is oval in shape so as to easily be distinguished. The star in the center represents our country, and the 5 points of the star represent the 5-point program of the Sons of the American Legion. The sun in the background represents the Sons of the American Legion, and the rays represent the loyalty of its membership. The blue of the emblem, like the blue in our flag, stands for justice. The stars in the blue border stand for freedom and democracy. The wreath below the star is a memory of our fathers who willingly gave their lives for their country. The 10 points of the emblem represent the 10 ideals of every Legion son.
The fourth organization is known as the American Legion Riders. Founded in 1993, a small group of motorcycle riders started the American Legion Riders and are now part of our American Legion family. They strive to serve the state and nation. They follow the principles of the American Legion. American Legion riders work for all the pillars: veterans, defense, Americanism, and youth. There stands an emblem of service to the American Legion. The bald eagle is their emblem. The words above the eagle, American, and the words below the eagle, Legion Riders, ensure that the eagle will always be a free spirit. A distinctive emblem for the American Legion, with the American Legion emblem at its heart, leaving no doubt all four pillars will be adhered to. Now, when you put all these organizations together, it makes a very, very powerful organization. We call it the American Legion family. This flag that's coming up is our American Legion family flag, has all of our emblems on it, denoting that we are all together for the same cause. We do programs like you're sitting in these chairs now: Boys State, Girls State, baseball, junior shooting sports, Boy Scouts, flag education. All that is by one of these organizations or all of these organizations of the American Legion. That's who brought you here, and that's who we honor today. Now we're going to talk about some other things. Now we showed you a bunch of emblems, but you're probably wondering why Mr. Davis has on that color hat, and Jacob has on this color hat, and I have on this color hat, and Mr. Emmel in the back has two colors on his hat. So we're going to talk about the Legion cap just for a minute, okay? When you wear a Legion cap, it's in levels. The hat that Mr. Davis has on right now is the basic Legion hat. That's the working member of the American Legion at your post level. That's what that hat is for. The next level would be the hat that Mr. Emmel has on in the back. If you notice, his hat is blue with a white top and gold trim. That means he is a district officer. Now the next one is this white one that gets dirty so fast. However, this means I'm at the state level of the Legion. Now, there's another hat that some states use that West Virginia doesn't, and that's a county hat, which we don't use that here in West Virginia. Couple things about the hat. If you notice all the hats you'll see, there's nothing on this side of the hat. So that's nothing to take away from the American Legion emblem. If you have pins or sayings or something on your hat, it's all on the other side. You'll see that. Now, there's a couple other things that I want to talk about hats, and you might see a couple of these. This is an actual Legion hat. This is a special Legion hat that belongs to a gentleman who's hiding. But this is a national level hat. This means you've made it all the way through all the state level and you're at the national. West Virginia has been credited with having 3 national commanders. Lewis A. Johnson in 1933, Donald R. Wilson in 1952, Miles S. Epling in 1990, and Miles Epling is currently the department adjutant for the state of West Virginia. And this hat up here, we've had several vice commanders from West Virginia. This hat was worn by the most special person, and that is your director, Mr. Jim Davis, who was the vice commander of the nation in 2008 and 9. So this is Mr. Davis's hat. you know the Legion has ladies in it too. We've had several on staff. Their hats are a little different. I guess they figured men's heads were bigger than the ladies because they made their hats very small. But they have the same rules on their caps as we have on ours. This is Miss, where is she? Where's Miss Barbara? There she is. Oh, you aren't standing. I'm sorry. There. Oh, come on, stand up, Barbara. Anyway, these are Barbara's hats. She is currently our vice commander of the state, and these are her hats that she let us use. Now, I told you about Jacob's hat, but I didn't say anything about it because I'm going to let him do that for his organization.
As Robbie talked about the American Legion's caps and how they work, I'm a member of the Sons of the American Legion. My grandfather served in the Korean War in the United States Army. So I am a member of the organization under my grandfather. Our caps, we follow the same rules and guidance. You'll see the pens on one side and not on the opposite side. The difference is the colors. You'll probably see on Wednesday the majority of these colors, I would say. Our national organization is gold. The state level is blue and gold, as I'm wearing now. The district is blue and white, very similar to Mike's back there in the Legion. And then the local level is the solid blue. So very similar, same principles. It's just we're the Sons of the American Legion. If you see any of us in the caps, there's quite a few of us on staff. Myself and Jeff Ryman are two of the state officers here. He's outside. He helped with the POW ceremony. You can talk to any of us. If you were eligible to apply for the Samson Scholarship, or your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, your stepfather, stepmother, any of them that you're a direct descendant served in service during a wartime, talk to us. We would like to see you join our organization as a member of the Sons of the American Legion. All right? If for some reason you don't have a squadron in your local area, we're fortunate here in West Virginia. Our program, Mountaineer Boys State, has its own squadron in the Sons of the American Legion. It's SAL 200. We will gladly work with you, especially if you want to join back on staff. We have our meetings. We do a lot of service back to the program. We do want you, we need you so we can continue this program. And I'm sure at the end of the week you'll know exactly why. So don't hesitate to reach out to us, talk to us. We'll give you some ins and outs as to how it works.
One thing I wanted to mention about all the hats is that a Legionnaire, a Sons member will wear the hat of their highest level. If you're on the state level, you wear a white hat. If you're district level, you will wear the other hat all the time, as long as you're in that position. Okay. How many of you think you might be interested in helping with some of these ceremonies throughout the week? Okay. Doug Robinson is the Americanism coordinator, and I'm going to let him talk a few things about where to meet him. If you're interested in doing this, you can meet him throughout the week and help with these programs.
Good evening, gentlemen. These programs that you're going to see throughout the week are very, very special to us as the Legion family. This is Boys State. This is your camp. We want you to participate in these programs with us. Those of you that wish to join us, please, we will meet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Randall. It is in the manual, is that correct?
It's in the manual. I believe it's tomorrow morning for the first session during the activity period after the first assembly.
Okay. It is there. What we'll have you do is meet us, okay, up on the dining hall porch and sign up. There will be programs that will be conducted all week long. Excuse me. We do wish you to join us in these programs. Be a part of your camp. Okay, this camp is about you. We need you to be a part of it. Well, understand, I need to put a thank you out to the Colonel. Thank you. He put a plug in for us earlier. Some of you have noticed we do have hallowed ground here on Boy State. Okay, the Boy State National Cemetery, where the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is located. That area is, for all intent and purpose, off limits. Okay, I want to remind you again, when you're doing your campaigning, so forth and so on, in your signs, please stay out of that area.
Thank you. We have a special guest from Indiana through Iowa is here. He is the National Americanism Deputy Director. His name is Mr. Mike Buss. He joined us yesterday. Most of the counselors met him last night, but he wants to speak to the boys today, so we're going to bring Mr. Mike Buss up, one of our national representatives, Mr. Mike Buss.
Thank you for the wonderful introduction, gentlemen. Thank you for the applause and the standing ovation. Although I did not sit in these chairs, I did sit in a chair back in 1973, so you can sort of do the math, back in Iowa. And I know of a counselor in, Marion County, am I correct? Yes. That gentleman back there is also a former Iowan who went to Boy State about 16 or so years after I did, if I'm right. But I had the wonderful opportunity to go to Hawkeye Boys State in 1973. And as you've already heard this week, or today I should say, what you put into this program is what you're going to get out of it. And hopefully you will put a lot into this, because you will get a lot out of it. This program helped this poor Iowa farm boy go to college. It opened the door for me to have be able to get a Navy ROTC scholarship. So when I finished at Iowa State University, Big 12 school, right? West Virginia Big 12, aren't they? Yes, sir. Yeah. I won't say it's, I support the Huskers. Ooh, bad name here, because the last time they played them, it sort of whooped the WVU's, back in about 1995 or thereabouts. But back to my comments here, I knew I had a job in 1978 when I commissioned as an ensign in the United States Navy. And I sort of get things done rather quickly. In 1979, I met my wonderful wife, Marie. And she's a little bit older than I am. She had a family of 4, 3 boys and a little girl. And 2 years later, or actually a year later, I married her. And 2 years later, I adopted the 3 younger ones. So I had a ready-made family. But everything that's come through my life has been because of Boys State. And in 1995, I had the wonderful opportunity to work at the American Legion National Headquarters. I had the opportunity to manage our youth programs. How many of you Boy Scouts? Got some Boy Scouters? American Legion since 1919. That's our first Americanism program. We charter over 2,500 Boy Scout units throughout the country, serve about 65,000 young men and young ladies in scouting. I also had the wonderful opportunity to shepherd our constitutional speech contest. How many of you have participated in an oratorical contest? Anyone? Usually we get 1 or 2 there. Okay, right there. Also had the wonderful opportunity to watch over our shooting sports program, and we produced a lot of athletes for West Virginia University and their wonderful rifle program there. And I'm also the resident flag guy. So if you got a question about the flag and how to fly it, I can probably answer it for you. And what's coming up here on like about 4 days from now? Flag Day, that's right, where we honor that flag that represents our country. So when you take a minute on Flag Day, the 14th. Take a pause and look up at that flag and let it tell you what it means. It means all the sacrifices that the men and women of this country have given to allow you all here tonight to be able to sit in these chairs and throughout the week to be able to enjoy the program and get into the program. Since then, I was promoted in 2010 as the deputy director, and I then took over the Boys State and Boys Nation program. And I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with some great volunteers in our Boys Nation program. All the Boys Nation delegates that have come to Washington, D.C., please stand up. Should be a few. Is there anyone? Right there's John went to Boys Nation. Blake Humphrey, I know, went to Boys Nation. Mr. Davis serves on our staff. But again, if you get a chance, ask these gentlemen what it's like to go to Boys Nation. I will look forward to seeing two of you here in a little better than a month in Washington, D.C. The other program that I've had the wonderful opportunity to watch over is our American Legion baseball program. How many of you play American Legion baseball here in West Virginia? Yeah, there are a lot of hands there. You have a very solid program. And if you ever get a chance, hopefully a team from West Virginia will make it down to Shelby, North Carolina. That's where we have our World Series at, and our 8 regional champions come down there and play. I wasn't expecting to talk much, so I'm going to finish up real quickly. When you go back home, and I used to tell this to when I would go back to Iowa and serve on the Boys State staff there, and I was always part of the inspection team. And that might have got me a job here. I don't know. It's a little early in the morning. But I told everyone there, and I'm going to tell you the same thing. When you go back home, make sure you take a minute, take some time, and go back to that American Legion post that sponsored you. Tell them thank you. They're the ones that believed in you to have you come here, to sponsor you to be here. So do that. Tell them thank you. And last but not least, if all the veterans in the audience would stand up. Veterans, please stand up. As you go around this week, and again, when you go back home and you know that there's a veteran there, remember, thank that veteran for what he or she did. Because again, they're the ones that fought for our freedom. So gentlemen, I wish you the very best of luck this week. Again, I look forward to seeing two of you in Washington, D.C. in about a month. And you'll have a great, wonderful, and productive week. Thank you very much.